This journey will guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah, we hide.
Welcome to Inside the Ride podcast by MyWhoosh. We're back for episode 3 after what was one of the most exciting weekends that our sport of cycling esports has ever seen. We're going to be talking all things UCI 2024 semi-finals. We also have a special guest on today's show, and one rider I personally feel can be classed as the GOAT of cycling esports. I am, of course, talking about Lionel Vujasin. But before all that, I am one of your hosts, Cy Bradley, and as always, I'm not alone in the studio. I am joined, as always, by co-host and the man with the plan, Matt Smithson. Matt, have you managed to come back down to earth after such an intense last week and, of course, an action-packed Friday night?
Mate, I don't know whether I'm happy, sad, excited, tired, wide awake. I still don't know where I'm at, and it's Monday morning. So, yeah, I can't wait to get into Friday night. It was, it was fantastic from our side, from my point of view, from all the feedback we've been given. Lots of stuff saying you guys actually changed the sport on Friday night, and that was from some important people. We've taken it to the next level, people said. Everyone enjoyed it, so let's get into it.
Yeah, it's honestly, I've never been so excited for an event. I've not been racing myself, thankfully, I can't remember since when. It was so good. I mean, of course, we're going to be talking about the semi-finals today. We're going to be talking about other stuff as well. We're going to talk about the qualifiers, of course. The qualifier 2, that was yesterday, SRC. We have got this special guest in, Lionel Vujasin. Yesterday's SRC for both men and women was in Belgium. Lionel's from Belgium, so I know he takes that one very seriously. We'll see if he's a little bit tired after 2 intense days on the bike this weekend. We're going to be talking about the classics as well, because there's some changes come the classics. We're going to be talking about some new race formats, one of which we've got happening for the first time on Tuesday. That's going to be Tuesday the 10th, so keep your eye out for that. We'll talk about that at the end of the show. But we've got to talk about, first and foremost, Friday night. Well, in fact, let's talk about the lead-up first, Matt, because it was quite an intense week, right? Whatever was going on, the lead-up to such a big event, the first time that, us here at MyWhoosh have hosted the World Championships. It's the first one, 3 years we've got this. There's obviously a bit of pressure on Matt. We were all busy. How was the week for you?
Yeah, it was exciting, but I was very nervous along the way. Not nervous for the platform or for the team or being able to deliver it. I was nervous that the event was actually going to go well. And by that I mean, had we designed it correctly? Was the point system right? Was it going to elicit the response from the riders and get the results that we were looking for? So there was a lot of nerves around that. But I was thinking over the weekend, I actually sent a message to some of the senior members here saying, hey, this is what we've done. And it was something along the lines of, we've verified over 500 riders across the world. We had races from 31 countries, I think, race the other night. We had a men's and a women's event running basically 4 stages. We got the point system together. We got the results together. We had no major issues. We had 2 or 3 people had struggled to get into the second stage that we put back into the event very, very quickly. Jerseys were all correct, bikes were correct, everything went exactly to plan. But on top of that, the racing was awesome. I was sitting there and I was cheering on, a couple of people that I know, some people that I've met through SRC and things like that. So, yeah, I'm super excited with it. But just the sheer magnitude of what we've delivered in the last 12 months to me, over the weekend sitting back and thinking about it and going, how did we get that done? We verified all those people's weights within an hour of the event. The other night, people weighed in. For those viewers at home, people had between 2 hours and an hour before the start to weigh in, so we knew those weights were real. There was no weight cutting and all those things. And so we had videos of all of that we had to review. There was a couple of people we had to say, you've got to do it again, and they'd blown up, I've just drunk, I've just eaten, etc. So we got all of that done on the evening. We got everyone in the event. We communicated via Zoom with all the riders, with the federations. We had a huge, well, I won't say huge team. It was only a handful of us on that side. There was you side, there was Phil, Bart, Ahmed, one of our key guys, and we were communicating with the UCI. Yeah, mate, I'm probably rambling on now, but I still don't know how to feel.
No, right. So it was unbelievable, and I think a lot of people don't realise we were doing test events in the run-up, but it wasn't just to test the event and how it ran in game and the point system and so on. But like you say, that verification, that weight checking, I think that's the first time, and we didn't have a big window to test those weights, of those riders. We had to watch every single video an hour before the race to make sure they were right and everyone was verified. And inevitably, like you say, there was one or two that didn't quite hit the standard that was laid out in the manual before, that, to satisfy those UCI standards and our standards as well, because we use the same standards in SRC. And it was really important. And I think that must be the most verified event that's taken place at that level, given everything that we did in the lead up, plus the weight videos and the weight checking we've done. And like you say, there was very few issues. If I look at the number of riders who submitted weight and the number of riders who then finished, there was less than 1%, I think, who didn't finish that race. Or who didn't actually make that first race, So it's really good, really high level. It's a technical sport, right? So things do go wrong when you've got so many points of potential technical issues, whether it be local internet or wherever it might be. To get that high percentage of people finishing that race who submitted their weight, who wanted to start, I thought was unbelievable.
Yeah, me too. And if people listened to the briefing and watched the Zoom, it would have been 100%. So the only couple of failures that we had is we were very specific, telling riders not to use MyWhoosh HD. There was no point for it. It was going to have to reload new maps. It was going to have to do some things we didn't want it to do. Very clear in the briefing, very clear on the Zoom. The only couple of failures that we had was people using HD trying to come into the game. A few of them got it downloaded and got back in just before the start. So that was one minor issue we had. Apart from that, everything went down really well. Crashes in game, etc. There was nothing from it, from what I've seen. What I'm really, really proud of out of it, though, is the verification that we got put together for this. I've actually just gone through all of the results before I walked down here to film this, and I've got a meeting with the UCI this afternoon. What I can say is that our verification system stacks up. All the things we were looking for it to report on and to look for people doing things that they shouldn't have been doing have really come out in this. There is no huge issues from the event at all, but all of the things that we tested and all of the settings that we have in there and alarms and all of those sort of things that actually didn't apply to that event because all of the categorization and all those types of things were not applicable. The people that should have been flagged to go up a category were actually flagged in that event. So everything we did is really good. I know that, it's something that we've worked really, really hard on and learnt so much in the last year. Since the championships, that $1 million race we had last year, we've put a lot of time and effort into the verification. But talking about the weights and the weigh-ins and all of that, I had a meeting this morning with our AI team. And so they're coming up with ways that we can do that via AI so that you, myself, Phil, and the others don't have to sit through all those videos an hour before the race.
Yeah, it was intense. Well, I say Phil was the guy who he got through those videos so quick, and like I say, just doing that and the team was so smooth. The other thing you should be really proud of, Matt, which I hope you are, because you've mentioned this in a previous show, but the racing was amazing. And it was exciting. And I was watching the chat. I was getting messages from members of the community as well. And the course made the racing. Those two routes made the racing. And the reason why I say you should, and this is not me just creeping up to the boss here, but you designed those courses.
Yeah. No, I did. I put that together. I looked at sort of what I wanted to achieve out of it, and it stacked up to what I wanted. Okay, so we've got some people in there that I would consider to be more powerful sprinters, and we've got some people in there that are fantastic climbers, and everything in between. And so we've got people that have come in weighing very light to very heavy that have qualified. We've got, people like Michael Knudsen are climbers. These guys are, they're over 40 minutes. There's 4 or 5 people in the world going to go up these climbs faster than Michael. He qualified, right? Yeah. So it didn't eliminate the climbers of the world. And we've got, I think it's Kel Power, who's quite a powerful sprinter, and Hayden Pucker, the guy from the USA, who is just a super powerful, heavy guy. I think he ran second. So we got all that. In the ladies' race, we had Lisa get across the line for 20th, and Lisa's probably quite powerful in those shorter events. Catherine obviously was up there from all the SRC. Lou Bates just tore people to shreds with the power that she put together, but doesn't necessarily win at the SRC, those longer things. But in the end, the people we thought would qualify pretty much qualified.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I do want to dive a bit deeper. I did wonder, Matt, actually, given the fact that, there was such a... You were looking at the game, you were looking at what's happening with riders and so on, how much attention you were able to pay to the racing, because you've also been very busy this morning. So I know I sent you the show brief. I don't think you've had any chance to read it yet, but I do want to go through the different stages. We're going to start. I want to look at the women's racing first of all. You've already mentioned a few of those names there as well. You've just touched upon it. It was really interesting. When I looked down the results, there's a really good mix of both SRC riders, and SRC, there's a lot of climbing typically in SRC, and it doesn't suit those sprinter types necessarily most weeks. I think that's fair to say. But there's a really great mix of riders there. But what you also saw, and I think stage one was a classic example. Obviously, Lisa's been part of our team for the last couple of months as well. Lisa she's not a climber necessarily. She knows that she can't climb with the Kristen Kulczynskis and the Catherines, as you say, but she knows her strengths. And we put these recons on and these test events in the run up there. And I know she was in there almost every day, testing what she wanted to work on. And that showed, let's just focus on stage one for a second. That first sprint, you got Anna Sardstrom, I think it is, and Lisa, both off the front, two Swedish riders picking up those first 2 points on that sprint section that comes up at the base of the climb, knowing that they were not going to be able to climb as quickly with the other girls, and then basically didn't sit up as such, but just made sure they got to the finish in time. Yeah,
look, 100%, and that's what we wanted. We wanted to give people that choice, right? So if it's just a race to the top of the climb, the same people are going to get there, right? Or the people that can sprint are going to come over there 35th and battle and go, why am I here? Well, you give those points at the bottom, you've got to make that choice. And taking Lisa just because we know Lisa, and I didn't actually talk tactics with Lisa at all before the event, but if it was me lining up, that's exactly how I would have approached it. I would have taken as much points as I could on the first one. I think I said this last week. I would have cruised to the finish and then pick up as many points as I could on the first two of stage two. And I think Lisa scraped in by 1 point for 20th. So
she did.
It was exactly what we wanted to happen. It just, what I'm proud of out of this is that people understand that the MyWhoosh team understands cycling and understand esports, right? That's the takeaway that I want people to have. It's not about the graphics, it's not about the points, it's not about anything like that, which are all fantastic, don't get me wrong. We've done that very well. But I want the cycling world to know, hey, we get this. It's not a faceless business. It's not ride for 30 kilometres and then head up a hill. And we do that in SRC for specific reasons, right? We want to make it hard. There's lots of prize money. There's lots of different things. But this was something for us to show, hey, we get it. It opens it up for everybody. I always said a track endurance rider was the right person for this event. So yeah, the way that first stage went for the ladies, again, it was in ones and twos over the top of that climb. It wasn't a group of 20 or 30. Yeah. It was exactly...
No, I think seven, two riders went clear. It was two Americans, Godby and KK, kicked it off at the foot of the climb. Yeah. Pretty much instantly, those two disappear. But then the faces that we'd expect to see, Catherine, Mary-Kate McCarthy, Bruni, the German rider, also closed that up. So I think 7 went over the top, and then it was like a long line then just strung out on that climb. And I think 5 of those 7 then went on to contest over those rollers and the finish in the end. But again, just looking at the way the teams, those national teams, and I'm going to talk about this with Lionel when we get Lionel in a second as well, but it was really interesting to see some of those tactics because the Swedish team I think they got 5 riders in the top 11 on that sprint on the base. So it wasn't just Anna and Lisa who picked up points. They had 5 riders in there as well. Soderstrom was there as well. And if you look at the end result, how many... Did they get 5 riders in or
something
6
like
riders in the top 20 as well, Sweden? So that looks really good for those finals. Then, of course, we go on to stage 2. And what was really interesting as well, I think it was Bruni was the only rider who then picked up points in the sprint at the base and the climb and the finish.
Yeah, right.
So just really consistently picking up points. And it was really interesting to get that, like Lou Bates on that second stage, picking up points every time. Didn't really bother she didn't bother in stage 1, but she knew her strength was going to be in stage 2. You've got riders like Bruni who were just consistent all the way through, not taking the win at any segment, but consistently picking up points. And then you've got, like say, riders like Lisa and so on. Again, just picking up where they could. So then we get into stage 2. And Lou Bates just dominates, right? Every time we get to that segment, she's just off the front.
Yep. Yeah. There was just no matching. That power was phenomenal. She's going to be so hard to beat when we come here, because that first stage is going to come in with the sprint, right, for the finals. So she's going to be exceptionally hard to beat. She has to be the favourite from here based on that performance. From what I see. But what was interesting for stage 2 from what I saw of it, and I may be a little wrong on this, and we'll talk to Lionel about it when he comes on, is I felt that the women raced that stage where the men just raced up the climb. So what tended to happen from what I saw is when the women went over the other side, they were still trying to break the group up. It was smaller groups. It was that type of thing. They kept the power on. Where the men went over the climb at 10, 11, 12 watts a kilo and then sat up. I think at one point I saw one group was 18 and 19 seconds back and got back to the front group along the flat because the guys just sat up and waited for the climb the next time round, which was not what I was expecting at all, and not based on watching some of the test events. But before Lionel comes on, I suppose I was talking to him after it, and he said, "Hey, I see where I went wrong. I'm not going to dob him in for that, but he knows where the test event worked in one aspect but didn't work for him on the day, because he had quite a big gap up that first climb on stage 1 as well."
Yeah.
So it was interesting how the women raced it. Look, I think women's racing in real world and in esports is better than men's racing. It's more entertaining. They tend to race more than they do race as a group or to play to their strength. They race, they go hard, and that's what we got. But talking about that, what'll be interesting, and I don't know the exact numbers off my head, but I think at the final we had about 105 women, and it was maybe 130 men. Does that sound about right to you in the end?
We had 115 men, I think.
115 in the end. So tell me a sport where we've had equal men and women at that level come to a world championship and all turn up and do it and enter, and like that, to me, that is really, really cool. Like, we talk about equality. We've talked about this before on the podcast. SRC women were well over 100 this week, as in yesterday.
Yeah, I saw.
And we've got that out there. I will shout out to my wife and the group that were off the back. They had a massive fight on their hands, I was told when I got home, to make the cutoff at the end of stage 1. I think from 99th to 105th. I think they made it by about 15 seconds to be able to start stage 2. So there was racing going on all the way. My wife said that it was just absolutely brutal. She had her highest power ever for 3 minutes, which was from the start line to the sprint point at the bottom of the climb. And I think she crossed over their 47th. So everyone got something out of it. And it was I've got messages not just from the winners. I've got messages from people that just said, "Hey, I'm in my 40s. I won't go into whom. I never thought I could represent my country at cycling. I can now say I've done this. MyWhoosh created a pathway for me to enter outside of my federation. I will never forget what I did on Friday night." That's what cycling's about.
Yeah, there's 2 riders that notable there to me, and Holly Bergin was one of them. The pride that Holly has shown in represented my home country, Great Britain, and well deserved as well, because we've seen Holly over the last couple of years build. But the other athlete as well and she couldn't make the final, unfortunately, due to some health reasons, was Gina van Rossum. She's been in the cycling esports community a long time. And again, I know the pride she felt to put on that, that Dutch national jersey. To see those pictures on social media as well. And it's a shame she couldn't get to the final. But again, just enjoying the build-up and enjoying being in the mix with those riders in the test events as well. And like I say, there was something for everyone in those in those courses. But also, coming back to what you said at the start there, ladies racing is just brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And you see that in real life as well. They're just non-stop attacking. Might say, just again, thinking about those last two stages with both the men and the women. In that men's final, we'll talk about this in a bit more with Leo when we bring him in. There was 40 riders in that final lap. On that final stage, there was 40 riders. In the women's race, that was down to 7 or 8 riders at that point, because it was just brutal. Attack after attack after attack. The other rider I want to shout out as well, and Matt, I did already post this in the chat as well, but we had one rider who did come through the qualifiers to make it to the finals, which was Vuysan.
Oh,
I'm not sure if you knew that.
No, I didn't know
see
that.
You probably missed that chat, but I put there a little bit of a pop quiz. So again, great to see. Not selected by her federation, but came through the qualifiers and now was qualified to be in Abu Dhabi at those finals for the 2024 Cycling Esports World Champs. Vuysan. So massive shout out to Vuysan. And she was another one of those riders. I went back and checked the results, and she was just always there.
Yeah.
She was just constantly picking up points to mate and get that result.
I saw she was there, but I didn't know that she came through that way. And, the best part about that qualification is we got a lot of people that were never going to represent their country. They were never going to do that. But the fact that they got to do that, the fact that we've had someone qualify shows that really stacks up as well. And people like my wife are now claiming that they're the best athlete in the family because they've represented their country and the rest of us in the family haven't. So
was that never not true though, Matt?
Yeah. Good point. Good point, actually. But no, look, I'm still excited. I think that MyWhoosh has done this really well, whether I'm part of it or not. I think the sport needed that. It needs a shake-up. It's not about the other platforms. As you know, I think the other platforms and what we're all out here doing is getting people on bikes, and it's fantastic. But the fact that we've made this a bit different, I think we've probably set the pathway now on what esports will be. I think the long, lonely climber type stuff is probably not where esports will head from here. Certainly not probably while I'm in this seat anyway. Unless I get outvoted by the team, of course. But I'm already thinking, how do we do this for next year? Maybe I should have saved some of that. And the question's going to be, and I'll ask a lot of people at Abu Dhabi, is do we want it to be the best person over that course, or do we want to add in some elements of gamification, if I can say that? That's the next bit. Can people play the game well and qualify? I don't know. That might be a few years away yet.
Yeah, but you're right. I've kind of already now. I was that excited after Friday, thinking, well, first of all about Abu Dhabi. Having these athletes, these 40 athletes together in Abu Dhabi, watching them put out these numbers, live. That's the first time that's going to happen at World Championships as well. The riders to be able to look each other in the eye across the room. I've seen some of the sketches now of what's going to be happening there. It looks phenomenal, I have to say. That environment, that setup looks phenomenal. I will say as well, Matt, I did message you this. I know you've been busy, but I was having messages off members of the community saying, hey, how do I get tickets to come to this event? I'm not riding, but can I actually get to the venue to watch this? So we need to talk about that in future shows, Matt, I think, because there are genuinely members of the community who want to come over to watch these athletes and meet these athletes and watch the athleticism on stage. Yeah,
it's funny. I did see you sent me that. I had 2 people ask me as well. They've gone, it's not far for us to head over. Can you get me tickets? I'm like, okay. That's not something I saw coming.
No.
Yeah, it's exciting times, mate.
Whether you're there or whether you watch this on screen, it's going to be a phenomenal event, that final in October. So just rounding up those ladies' results, I'm not going to go through all the results, but just to say, Lou Bates took the overall with the points, Catherine Fuhr and then Mary-Kate McCarthy, those 3 names taking out the top 3, but it's the top 20 who now move forward. Really interesting, Matt, as well, and I want to talk about this more when we get Leo in, because it's going to be quite important, I think, to see how it plays out. Is Sweden have got 6 riders in that top 20, USA 3, UK have got 2, Germany have got 2, and then again a lot of single nations with the rest. So it's really going to be interesting if there are any team tactics. And I'm just going to save that, just pause there, because we're going to bring Leo in now as well. So because there were things happened in that men's race where I questioned whether team tactics played a part, the Danish riders more specifically. But again, just hold that thought. We're going to bring Leo in. Leo, welcome to the show. First of all, buddy, I've got to ask you, you've had you've had Friday night and then you had Sunday Race Club. How's the legs and the minds today?
Yeah. First, thanks for having me. But yeah, the legs are done. Like they are screaming for holidays right now, for some vacation, and then yeah, it's not the best day, Monday.
I was going to say, I said this to you when you were sat in the green room there, that it's not just the legs, though. I guess the mental focus that it takes, particularly with something like Friday. I mean, Matt and I felt tired, and we were just involved in the organisation, but the planning and then the energy that the excitement must also have an effect.
Yeah, it's like when you have such a big stressful event, because even if you feel confident that you're gonna make the top 20, there is still like a bit of stress. You don't know. It's like you said, it's a technological sport, so something wrong can always happen. So yeah, when you finish that, your body is always like. And I was starting to have some sore throat on Friday. I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna get sick before SRC, but yeah, it was fine at the end. So yeah, I was happy.
I imagine it's one of those things that when you're racing at that level, any kind of niggle or hint of a sore throat or a cold, it only comes around once a year, right? So the panic and the worry starts to set in. But I want to just have a quick brief on the history. Leo, you and I have spoke before on previous shows and so on, but just give us a brief history, because I mentioned at the top of the show, I consider you the GOAT of the sport, because I know you've been in it since the year dot, if I could put it that way. Those CVR events back in the day, you have taken part in every UCI Cycling Esports World Championships since 2020. Obviously, I know we had 21 off. You've had some great results in those. Just give us a bit of background of how you fell into the sport, and then how did you get into MyWhoosh?
Yes, into esports, cycling esports, just like the most of us. When you have a job, it's not always easy to do like intensity after the job day, and so I jump on racing on the trainer because it was more fun actually. So yeah, start like this. Ended up in Vancouver for CVR, and it was like eye opener. Because back then we already had live events. That was like so huge that I wanted to focus on eSport after that. And then World Championship 3 times, 1 top 5. The year of Vuysan won. Was battling with Jason already on the climb. So yeah, when I battled him on SRC, it's like a deja vu. But yeah, but.
Well, I think it's fair to say. I mean, if we look back at some of those World Championships in 2020, 2022, 23 was a bit different, but essentially a similar. It was a similar sort of rider potentially that could win those races, and it was also a little bit of roll the dice in a way. But I think if you look at these finals now, the strategy and the planning, I guess, was at a different level.
It's completely another world. Like in the past, it was just like saving energy for the last 2-3 minutes, and then with the strongest will win. But here it's like you have to think about, should I go for the first sprint? But I will pay for it in the climb, and it's really, really tactical. And on the final with the first race, it's difficult, very difficult.
Sure. Let me ask you about that first race then. No matter wants to ask you, but I saw I saw what happened after that. I mean, first of all, that first sprint was madness, right? There was and Matt said this last week, that so many people were going to be trying to pick up points at the base of that climb. I basically think, correct me if I'm wrong, but you just didn't get involved. You knew that what it was going to be like, but did the numbers even surprise you? What happened into that base?
Yeah, it's like To be fair, I listened to Matt in the podcast the week before, and he said that, most people are going to go for the first point. That was what I was thinking anyway. So during the test event on Tuesday, I tried different tactic. Just go full gas for the climb. And it worked well on the test event, but on the day, what I didn't consider was that the Danish team, they would push so hard straight from the gate. So So yeah, instead of going into the climb at 6 watts per kilo, I was 7 watts per kilo for already 2 minutes. So yeah, when I hit the climb, I was like, oh yeah, it's like Tuesday, I'm gonna smash it. Like, yeah, go. And then you see the 300 meters banner. And in my mind, I was like, oh, Matt, why did you put the steep part at the end like that? Because I was blowing up, and I had really had to focus on myself and just accept the fact that Stefan, Aiden, and Oli would pass me. I try everything to stay in the wheel, but I couldn't. So I really had to manage my energy, and yeah, it was a bit different than on Tuesday.
Lionel, a question for me, when you're out there, and I understand that you go out with a strategy and say, I'm not going to do this, I'm not going to do that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, right? And I haven't actually asked anyone this yet. Were you still looking at where the competitors were? So were you looking at where, what Ollie or Stefan or Hayden or whatever, where they were in the group or what points they were on? Or were you just wholly concentrating on yourself?
Honestly, it was super difficult in the beginning because it was carnage. Like, you couldn't really see anyone around you. Like, I remember seeing Kaminski with me, but we were like, my position was maybe like 70 or 71. And I was riding 7-8 watts per kilo. I couldn't move up because the pack speed was insane and we are not used to that. Like, it's something totally new. It was something I was kind of expecting, but didn't expect to be that hard, to be fair. So yeah, it just, when I start the climb, I saw Ollie Jones with me and I switched the gear and the gear just, when your gear doesn't go well on your cog and just like clack a little bit, I had a rush of adrenaline and I keep pushing. And I saw I got some distance in the second part of the car. I was like, oh no, maybe I went too hard too early. So that's the moment where I start checking everybody on the list. And I saw Michael Knudsen being 7 or 8 seconds back.
Yep.
So I was, okay, maybe I can let the group come back on me and try to hold the wheel. But Aiden and Van Aert, they push for the sprint and I couldn't follow. So I just wait for the other group to finish the race.
And you were climbing up there, 6.5, 7 the whole way from what I saw, somewhere around there?
I started the climb at 8 watts per kilo, trying to hold that pace until the wooden bridge. And then you have like a bit of a rest, like maybe 10-second rest, and then it's the second part. And on the second part, I was trying to manage my effort, but yeah, I was starting feeling the legs.
I just did some of the verification and I see everyone's numbers, and I think you were 7.56 for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah,
I'd like to do that for one.
I ate twice my poor best for 5 minutes in 1 week, so I knew the legs were good. The only problem is that for the semi-final, that 5-minute effort start way before than on Tuesday, and I was too short for like 200 meters maybe.
Yeah, that's what you said to me.
To pass the climb and maybe go.
Yeah, you said that to me when we were chatting over the weekend, that you didn't take that into account, that you knew where you could go and hold, but you didn't think about coming into the bottom at 7 watts a kilo. A couple of quick questions is, 2 questions from me. One, over the years, and you've been around this for a long time, has your power increased dramatically for this? Is the numbers that are being done now a fair bit higher than where they were? And my second question is, how have you had to change your training now for what this World Championship is versus what you would normally do for an SRC or a normal World Championship?
Honestly, like for the 5-minute power, when I used to do CP5 test in the past, when you are so just fresh and go hard, like I was maybe 10 watts slower than my power best, like on the race. Which changed with SRC is that I'm able to do like very hard power after being fatigued. That's what I get racing SRC every week, because the race is so demanding and then you push yourself more than in any workout, I guess. But for the preparation itself, it's just like, yeah, you can see at my results in SRC in the last 2 months, when it comes to a long climb, I'm a bit of struggling at the moment because I had to change my preparation just to be able to focus on the repetition of efforts. and being able to like, those 3 to 5 minutes per hour, but also like the 30 seconds and 1 minute sprint for the last race. So it's of course it impacts your ability to ride at 3 short or just over 3 short, for 20 or 30 minutes. So it's completely different effort, and you have to make choice. And yeah, it is what it is. That's why I was super happy to have Belgium this week at SLC, because it suits that training anyways. But yeah, the week before on the Snowfall Mountain, I was crying. Yeah.
Well, I was crying in Belgium yesterday, so we'll talk about SRC a little bit more later. So it's interesting what you said there. So you made a conscious decision then to basically let those 3 riders go off, and then there was like you, Osborne, Andreasen, I think, were also in that second group chasing on. So then it was Stefan, Ollie, and Hayden Pucker who fought out the top points in that stage. You make the top 10 overall. I think you were 10th, 9th or 10th, I think, after that stage overall, because of course you got those double points on the line. And for me, it was still all to play for. I think the top 10 were pretty much there. There was going to be some movement. The top 3 certainly was going to be set. But then it was still wide open for the stage 2 and 10th down to 20th. And it was, Matt said there, it's a very different race with the men's, because that last lap, there was still 40 riders in that group.
Honestly, like my plan when I go hard on the first climb was take full points on the top of the climbing stage, the first stage, and maybe at the end, and have like 60 points, and yeah, I can chill. But yeah, it wasn't the case. So I pushed hard on the first sprint. I won the first sprint on the second race, and from there on, I was a bit more relaxed. But I noticed that what I didn't expect is to have like 40 riders going over the first climb. And that's why I think everybody set up, because if you had less than 20 riders going over the first climb, there's where the race go hard. Everybody would have pushed just to secure the top 20, and it would have been different race. There, with so many riders, everybody was waiting for the climb each time. I just noticed Arne Jacobs from the Netherlands trying something in the second lap. I think for him, it would have been better in the third lap, like Barnes done and Noren done.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Because go on, Matt.
Yeah, I was watching, and that's exactly what I thought. I thought the group's got so big here that none of the big hitters want to hurt themselves here and try to break it up, because if they go into the red in that couple of kilometres before you come back around, they could lose contact with that big group the next time and then get no points. And so I was thinking, is that what's happening here? And it sounds like it was, because you go into the red, you go so far into the red in that 52 seconds going up that climb. The recovery is quite short, because you hit a little bit of a false flat again not too long after, and you've got that little kick up. If you haven't recovered before you do that little kick up to the town, you're not going to have a bad day. And that made sense as to why that all came back together like that.
It's super difficult to figure out the situation with the points, even if you have them on screen, because you need to do the calculation in your head and you are completely done by the climb. So you're always like, oh, but am I really secure or not? So you don't want to take too many risks because there are so many guys. So yeah.
Yeah, that was actually part of the plan when I put it together. Is I actually wanted the riders to be a little bit confused, because I thought if it was quite simple and you had time to figure it all out, then people would stop racing. Where you didn't stop racing because you're like, what if someone from 40 back gets 20 points on this next climb? Am I in trouble? So okay, that worked. Good. That's good feedback. Thanks, mate.
I remember just before the third sprint on the second race, I checked who was on the 20th position, just to make sure I was 60 points ahead. So I thought, okay, no, it's just for fun, so it's fine.
You're home.
Yeah, because you got those double points on the end as well, so that adds that extra jeopardy in there. And you mentioned there, we had Arnie Jacobs and Takasuki, I think, the Japanese rider, went off the front. Takasuki moved himself up significantly because I think he got some points. But then you mentioned there was 2 riders, Noren and Barnes, who went on the next lap. James Barnes went from 50th up to 17th on those last 2 laps. So really, arguably out of the race, out of the game. But because of the double points on that last lap, Matt, Barney, and Noren jump up. I mean, I think Noren finished even higher in the end up there. So really, you've got to have, if you're not in that top 10, you got to have your wits about you. And for me, I'd been worried that if I've taken 40 riders into that final climb, that it bit more of a roll of the dice and who's got anything left. But maybe it's just good strategy on the riders' part.
Yeah, we were watching. Well, you've watched a lot more of it than me. I'm going to question what you were doing all afternoon, Si. But from what I was watching, we were watching a little bit further down. We were trying to figure out who was going to get in that 18th, 19th, 20th places when we were watching. And what was super interesting up that last climb that we noticed was the fitter SRC riders. So what I would consider the longer riders, the longer climbers, they were a little bit more powerful up that climb the 4th time for the double points. Everyone was flat out up there pretty much every lap, but you could see a few of those riders that were, probably you would deem a little bit fitter over 2 or 3 hours, were starting to push forward, which was also quite interesting. But yeah, overall, I think the racing it looked like it was fun. I wish I was young and fit again, because it looked like it was something you could, get out there and just really have a go at, and then go, oh, what's happening next? I've got to do this again. So yeah, certainly didn't seem boring.
It's fun to race, but I think it's way more fun when we're gonna be only 20 or 24 riders riding, because the tactical aspect is gonna be totally different.
Yeah.
There you wanted to survive actually, and just get away from the crowd, I would say. But with less rider, with everybody almost scoring points every time, it's gonna be a complete different approach, I would say. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Let me ask you about that then, Leo, because Belgium have got 5 riders in the top 20. Stefan, yourself, Jasper Paradines. Jasper, I thought, raced really well, actually. Again, just really consistent. I think he was the only rider in the first stage who picked up points at every segment again, just really consistent. Kel Power, and then Seb, I think, also was in the top 20. Was there any pre-planning? Was there any discussion amongst you guys, or was it just every man for himself?
Honestly, like on the chat, the national team chat, it was like pretty straightforward that we wanted to go all for our own card. Like everybody was free to do his stuff. And now with 5 riders, it's nice, but it's also like, not say pressure, but the point system is special, and I'm not sure having 5 riders riding together is gonna be an advantage, but could be like potentially something difficult to manage, because like you said, there's Stefan is flying at the moment. Yeah, Jasper is super, has a really good profile for the demand of the race, especially with stage 1. Kjell Power is a super sprinter. Steve is a young guy, but he's pro Conti, I think. So he's big water. He has big water. So yeah, it's difficult to like. I think it's gonna be at some touchy chat to find out the tactics for the big day, but we gotta figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
will anyone say, Matt? It looks like you've thrown a real dilemma into the mix here, and because that stage 1 that's going to come into the final again, it changes things again.
Yeah, it does. And what I'll be interested to see, certainly with Leo's team or some of the teams that qualified a few people, is will they put people to try to take points off other people? So, like you talk about Kel Power, or who's a great sprinter and things like that. If Lionel's the favourite, can he help by taking more points off Ollie Jones, for example, or those types of things? So, is Lionel better off doing a great sprint himself and then giving Kel the best lead out of all time so he can get maximum points and take it off some of his other competitors? I don't know the answer to that. We're going to find out on October 26th, that's for sure. But I think some of those conversations are going to have to happen and with the key favourites.
Well, the other thing we got to mention, I want to ask Leo about this, is obviously the current world champion, Bjorn Andreasen, has made it through as well. But what really interested me there, just thinking about the team tactics, is the Danish riders, both in that first stage, go and chuck 5 or 6 riders off the front to really rip that pace up. And then they did the same in the lead up to that first kicker in stage 2 as well. And I'm like, well, who's this? Is it a team tactic, or what is the planning? Were they doing that for Bjorn? Were they doing it for Knudsen? Because there's 2 riders there that have both made it through. I don't know what were your thoughts when you saw those Danish riders doing that, Leo?
I was like, why are you doing that to me? But no, honestly, like, I can't figure. What I think is that they wanted to stretch the pack as much as possible. But I don't really know if it was for good, to be fair, because even for Bjorn and Michael, they had to still follow, and it was already super demanding. But I wonder what was their power to weight ratio to go into the first climb, being maybe closer to the front than what I was. Because like I said, the thing was, I was around 70, 50 position back, and I couldn't move up. It was really super hard to move up. And so yeah, I don't really know the answer to that. Maybe we need to check in the data, but yeah, it was a special move, to be fair.
I watched that on the replay, and I was interested in what they were doing. I still am not sure. I'll have to ask Michael or somebody what the plan actually was. But I tell you what, Bjorn surprised me. I know most of the guys racing these days, and I don't know him at all. I've not spoken to him. I've seen he's come and done a couple of SRCs and probably battled a little bit more than I expected that he would, and I'm not sure he's come back to too many recently. He rode exceptionally well and deserving of being the current world champion. He pieced that race together quite cleverly. He didn't get himself into trouble at any point. He worked his way through groups. He made very clever decisions. He's going to be a really big threat to defend his title. And honestly, I should have given more, I suppose, faith in the fact that he is the world champion. But he was good in that race, really good.
It's also like, I could figure out also like some rider that made it on purpose to not go for full gas on some points, even in stage 2, which was interesting because, yeah, it's gonna be hard to see if it's your correct tactic to do when we go live in Abu Dhabi, because I don't think you can't afford to sit up like that. So yeah, we will see.
The next bit I want to talk about, Leon, and I don't want to worry you too much or put any. I'm sure there's nerves there already, but just look at the names down that list for the final. You've got Bjorn, current world champion. You've got a former world champion with Jason Osborne. We know. I spoke to Jason over the weekend as well. We know he had an injury. He did enough to get through. I think that was his focus. Again, just really consistent. Arguably, will this kind of event suit him? We know that he goes really well. He's had a great month or two with SRC recently as well. But he is, again, a former world champion. He has experience on the platform. He races really regular. And I also know that he's off on a training camp for 3 weeks. So there are some amazing names. It's going to be phenomenal, that final, Matt.
Oh, it's unbelievable. And, we've got to talk about Ollie as well. Like, Ollie rode, he was unbelievable. And Hayden Pucker, those numbers, like, he's a big dude, right? They're massive, massive numbers that he's put together in that as well. We've had Ollie and Lionel and Kleminski in here, so I know what those guys can do. Kleminski, I thought, battled a bit more, as did Knudsen and a few of the SRC guys Jason as well on that course. So it'll be interesting to see their turnaround in the next few weeks and see, what they can do to bring those numbers up. I know, Nudson's saying to me, I'm too old for this. Why have you designed this course? It's too. But that's Michael all the time, right? And then comes out and absolutely smokes everyone every Sunday. I think it's great. I think it'll be good fun. I'm looking forward to everyone coming over to Abu Dhabi. I think they're going to get to learn about what Abu Dhabi is and the place, and we're going to have some fun here and just a huge event. For some of the people out there, Lionel will be getting his, as long as it all goes through the verification with the UCI, by the time you've listened to this, Elite are sending the trainers out to the athletes in the next week or so. There's 40 trainers going out for everyone to practice on the Elite Justo 2s. Riders will be bringing their own bikes to Abu Dhabi. We'll set them up on the trainers correctly for them. The trainers that we had verified are actually on the way over now. So they'll be here shortly, all taped up and all boxed up and all secure to read what they could do. So we're all sort of strapped in, ready to go now. And for me, a lot of the hard work's over. It's onto the events team now to really put the bright lights up and the get the systems working and all of that. The course and the points and all that's all done. So it's going to be really exciting to get everybody here. I'm looking forward to catching up with people in a little bit more relaxed environment than last time. I met up with Lionel here. It was a very stressful couple of days at that point. And there's a video on there on YouTube as well, everyone, about the verification of those trainers. I'm sure you've got a few more things, Si, but I can't wait to see you in a few weeks, Lionel.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible, and let's not forget about the after party as well, because that's got to be a good one to look forward to.
Yeah, I've heard Garage Hotel is what they're talking about. The W at Yas is the after party is what I'm hearing being floated around anyway at this point in time.
Well, you guys might know that better than me. You've got the experience in that place, but either way, I'm sure it's going to be good fun, and to have these phenomenal athletes all together in the same place will be an absolute phenomenal experience. Leo, the last question on this subject before we get into the next couple of topics, and I do want you to stick around if you don't mind for the next couple of topics, but what's your plan now then? What are we, 6 weeks or so out? It's October 26th of the final. What's your plan between now and then?
First take some vacation, try to reset the body. I'm gonna go back to Croatia. It's my place, so it's gonna be good for a week, and then start the preparation. Preparation is gonna be like almost the same as I did for this time around. Just a bit of advice, just a bit of focus more on sprinting probably. But I don't think I'm gonna go on training camps. I'm just gonna stay at home and really focus on the build up, and maybe do some live coaching of 1 or 2 key session on MyWhoosh. Could be good fun. So looking forward to that also.
Matt, Leo's an absolute pro. See how he just led us into that next topic there beautifully. Leo, we were going to talk about VODs and live, so I appreciate that beautiful link there. But of course, we spoke before. You're going to be doing a couple of live sessions for us. Hopefully, we might be able to record a VOD as well. So if any members of the community want to get involved and come and join these live coaching sessions, you can join me, many other coaches, Lisa, Bart, but Leo as well also for some live training sessions. Are we going to do it in French or English or a bit of both, Leo?
I will start in English, and if it gets too hard, it's gonna be in French, So in English, of course. We try in English. So
absolutely, no, you got great English. So keep your eye out on the social media posts, Leo, and hopefully some of the other athletes who are going to be coming over to Abu Dhabi are going to be doing some live sessions between now and those finals. So come and ride on the platform, come and do some of the training sessions. Leo, you've got to pick the training sessions. Well, bear in mind, you've got to talk throughout these sessions as well. So just, from the voice of experience here of me and Matt, just think about that. I think Matt sneakily sometimes lowers his FTP bias, but it's not true, Matt, right?
It can't go much lower, mate, so I'm in trouble now.
So there's that happening. The other thing is going to be happening as well. It's actually happening tomorrow. We're recording this on the Monday. Is the first elimination race. We've got the first elimination race happening tomorrow, the 10th. That's going to be happening at 1900 AEST. That sounds, Matt, like a time zone from your home country, I think.
Yes, Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Saving Time, I think that stands for. So what's that? That's going to be, 6 hours difference from here. So what's that, about 10 a.m. here or midday here or something like that?
Yeah, I think it's 10 a.m. for me in the UK, so a little bit later for you. So about lunchtime for you. So you could get involved in that. Leo, I think you're travelling, so I'm not sure if you... Or is your name down for that one?
Yeah. I go on holiday the next day, so I will try. Like, I'm curious to see how it works, so yeah.
Don't worry, mate, so are we. We haven't run one yet, so...
Yeah, it is a test event after all. But can I make one request then? Don't just go off the front and string it out. Give us mere mortals a little bit of a chance. Let's sprint and recover. That'd be good. We're actually going to use the sprint course, actually, for the UCI World. So that's where we're going to test that event, because it's nice and flat. And it's nice and short as well, so we can get those eliminations rolling through pretty quickly. But that's just the first test event. Leo, I think you've also mentioned you want to get involved with some of the organising and helping out with these elimination races moving forward as well. I know elimination racing is one of your favourites, right?
Yeah, it's always like good workouts also. Like you have forced to sprint every now and then, and not able to properly recover in between is perfect preparation. So yeah. Always fun to do.
Yeah, I think they're great. I can't wait to jump on and do one, because I'm a big believer in cycling. If you sprint every day on your bike, you generally end up being a pretty good bike rider. So, jumping on doing these, and because we don't sprint as often as we should. Certainly indoors, quite often we don't sprint. We're generally quite fatigued, because quite often getting to the end of an event, you've been close to threshold a lot of times. Where these elimination races, hopefully are flat out, sprint as hard as you can, and then cruise around, sprint again. So, yeah, it might be good, different training. I might get motivated again. Maybe not. Although I did over 200 kilometres last week. It's the biggest week I've had since December 22. Anyway, we'll leave that for another time.
Big week. I think the week leading up to the final is going to be a big week, because you told me we've got to be testing these turbos in that environment every day in the lead up to those finals. So that's going to be an interesting one. Excuse me. Well, the other thing we need to talk about very briefly, just before we wrap up the show, is SRC. Matt, I didn't see your name down yesterday, but I rode on your behalf. I guess you were busy or resting, but no. I rode SRC for the first time in a while. But were you there, Matt? I didn't see your name.
What happened yesterday is in here in Abu Dhabi, because it's warm, they have indoor fun runs. My son's quite a handy little runner, and the rest of the family jump out. And there was in SeaWorld yesterday, which is fantastic. You run around and see all the animals. Lionel would love that, with his rabbits and all the things that he has, all the cool stuff. Anyway, they have a fun run in there. My wife decided she would be the only person to trip over, smashed herself to pieces on the glass flooring, and we were in the hospital getting x-rays while SRC was on yesterday. So, yeah, she's all right. She just won't be doing SRC for a few weeks now. But she got through. She was just happy she got through Friday night. But yeah, I have no idea what happened on SRC yesterday. I'm sorry. So I'll have to leave it to you two.
Well, I can tell you, I mean, I got a result as far as I'm concerned, because I basically crossed the line before Lionel did. So that was a win for me. I mean, you did start 15 minutes behind me, and you did cross me soon after the finish, pass me soon after the finish line. But we did the cool down together almost, which was great. I appreciate you looking after me on the cool down at least. But I know that this route is special. So even though probably you might wanted a bit more rest, because it's Belgium, which Matt must have done on purpose, and the team there, that you've got to turn up, right? I know you love that course.
Yeah, it's also like I say, my preparation was super focused for semis, and it still suits the Belgian course. So yeah, it was like an opportunity. I didn't have the top 5 in like a month since endurance climb, I think. So yeah, I had to go for it, and works pretty well. So yeah, I got the win yesterday. So yeah, all in on the Butterberg.
You'll like this week. Yeah, I think we've got. I think we can do Tel Marib this week. The new one that we did, not the old one where it was those 3 or 4 laps where literally I wanted to die. We did it a couple of months ago. So I think we might wheel that one out this week. It's got a bit in it for everybody. But yeah, I missed yesterday. I'm a bit disappointed. I've got going again a little bit with my riding, and Sundays is that you know how you always do a long ride or a big ride each week? It's that one that I've been now looking forward to each week and getting a little bit better. So I'm out next week too. So anyway, I'll be back.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you're travelling, but it's become that for me as well. I think, you know, anyone who wants to get involved, that Sunday Race Club is a great challenge, just to put your name down every week. You know, you've got to turn up. You know, you're going to get a hard ride. And I mean, I've got the sweater on at the moment because the UK is getting a little bit cooler again. So we know things are going to start to ramp up in the winter season over here. The other thing, Matt, just want to mention briefly before we wrap up the show is we're going to be heading to Zurich. Obviously, it's the Road and Para World Championships taking place at the end of September in Zurich. And myself and a couple of the members of the team are going to be there.
Yeah, for sure. We're a key sponsor of that event with the UCI, so you'll see some MyWhoosh branding. I believe we've got some fantastic drink bottles that are going out to be used for all the athletes that are there as well. So a few of those hopefully will be left over and available for people to come and say hi. And with a little bit of luck, I'll be there last couple of days of it, I hope. So come and say hello. Most of the team will be there for that period of time. What we want people is not just come and try the platform, that'd be great, but come and talk to us about it. What can we do with esports? What can we do with indoor cycling? What would you like to see? Certainly none of us are pretentious. No one thinks we're very special. We're just bike riders that like having fun, and just come and talk to us. If you see me or Sai or anyone, just pull us aside and go, hey, I've tried MyWhoosh. I like this. I don't like that. This is what we should do. This is what we shouldn't do. We want to talk about it. So feel free to come and, chew our ear off and let us know what the community wants.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're going to be there all week. So I think we're there from the 23rd through to the 29th. I say myself, the MyWhoosh team, Matt. If you're an athlete, if you've used MyWhoosh, come and talk to us. That'd be great. And if you're new to the platform as well, we can show you a bit of the platform and how it works and so on. And I think we're going to have a couple of turbo trainers in there. So
yeah, I'm actually hoping we're getting a couple of these new Elite Squares or something they're called. The Elite's new bike that they had at Eurobike. That's designed specifically for trainers. So I've seen one. They're really adjustable. They're really cool. They looked a little bit weird in the photos, I thought, but in real life, they're heaps better. So come and try one of those as well.
Yeah, so we can all try that. Lionel, thank you ever so much for coming on today's podcast. Absolute pleasure talking to you as always. Best of luck for the preparation for the World Championships happening in October. Hopefully I'll get to meet you also in Abu Dhabi. I know you've met Matt before over there, so it'd be great to see you. Massive thank you also to the production team at the back end. We've stepped up the production here. We've got a producer. I know you've got a studio technician with you as well, Matt, to help you on the technical side of things. So it's getting serious, this podcast.
Yeah, it is. Big time. Hopefully we get some people listening to it as well now.
Numbers are growing, I can tell you. But that's
Perfect.
a wrap for episode 3 of Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe, share the show with your fellow esports athletes, or just those fitness enthusiasts who want to come along and do some live coaching and get fitter during the northern winter or that southern summer. And we'll see you soon for episode 4 of Inside the Ride by MyWhoosh.
On this journey we'll guide inside the ride where we fly. Virtual roads touch the sky. Join us here, don't be shy. Inside the ride, yeah.